Hi everybody, we're live. Well, hey, welcome on board to the first Evermore podcast. It's the brand new Newcastle United podcast on the Slide Rule Pass YouTube channel. You can see I've been joined in the Magpie's Nest by the one and only blue tick man himself, Dan Wales. How are you, Dan?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm absolutely fine. Great to be here.
Good man, good man. It's great to have you here, mate. And it's really exciting to have a dedicated Newcastle United podcast. We've been thinking about doing this for a long time on the Slide Rule Pass channel. So we're really excited to have the United show up and running. And obviously it's called Evermore, as the intro video says there after the chant. You know, we will support them evermore no matter what they do, unfortunately, which isn't a very good performances at the moment. So, Dan, we're going to get stuck right into this. We are live on YouTube, everybody, so feel free to jump in with some comments.
Free to join and put comments and do anything you want.
Tell us exactly what you think about what's going on with the club and everything else that's around Newcastle United at the moment. But we're going to kick it off, Dan, bringing it down to a really low level, unfortunately, which is the upcoming game against Liverpool. Now, as you can see, everybody, I'm sporting the old retro Keegan jumper from days when the Liverpool-Newcastle fixture meant something, and obviously those fantastic 4-3s. Sadly, this Thursday, beg your pardon, this weekend, Thursday, is not going to mean a great deal. I know it's a weird day for a game, isn't it? But it's not going to mean a great deal, is it, Dan, apart from probably watching through your fingers, mate. What's your thoughts about the game to start with?
How many are we going to get beaten by?
It's pretty much the case, isn't it, sadly, mate?
That's all.
How depressing.
Even optimistic me can't see us getting anything at all. I just think it's sort of going to be another damage limitation. Unfortunately, in fairness, Leeds getting hammered last night helped goal difference wise. So if we can keep the score down to an extent, maybe even if we get one goal, even if it's like say a 3-1 loss, I'd take that, because you think, well, goal difference wise, it's not the end of the world. Keeps us sort of within check a little bit, but I can't see us getting anything at all.
I don't disagree, Dan, to be honest with you, but it's really depressing to say that. I mean, let's be honest with you, though. Liverpool are one of the best teams in the world on their day. You know, even when they're off, they're still better than everybody else in the league. You know, they did well against Villa. Villa dug in. I think that's the kind of performance we have to really mirror, to be honest with you. But I think I said it in the group chats when we were talking through the week that I'm not sure these players have got that level of discipline. You know, let us know, guys, if you're watching along. Drop us a comment and we'll get you on the screen. But I'm not sure these players have got that discipline to hold that shape, you know. And obviously we had some really disappointing team news earlier on today. I think your mate Keith Downey broke it, didn't he, about Fernandez is out injured and he doesn't look like he's going to play the whole festive period. And that's a huge blow, because obviously Lascelles was dreadful, really, wasn't he, against Leicester, as they all were.
Is that the third penalty he's given away this season now?
I think you might be right, yeah. I mean, let's know, everybody.
Southampton, he gave one away. Aston Villa, he gave one away. And now Leicester, he gave one away.
Well, it's to be honest, I mean, he does look a hell of a lot slower than he ever was before. I know he's aged a little bit, but he looks slower, he looks bulkier, he looks clunkier. We said that on the stat pack that we did in the Slide Rule Pass just the other day there, that, you know,
featuring us too again.
Featuring us too again, yeah. But obviously this is just Newcastle United content only tonight. So, but Maddison's looking for that leg, and Maddison's that type of player who's always looking for that leg. And Lascelles shouldn't be as clumsy. He's got to pull that leg back a bit, and he's got to think on. You know, he's a captain of the club. He's an experienced Premier League defender now.
He should know better. He should know. As much as it is cheating by James Maddison, Lascelles shouldn't allow that to happen in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, shocking pass as well to Shelby, it must be said. I don't know what he was doing there. You put Shelby under loads of pressure. I mean, Shelby's good on the ball, but he's not. You know, don't put a ball to him like that. You know, which was such a hospital ball. I might as well have arrived in an ambulance. You know, surrounded by a bloody high press inside. You know, it's just a stupid thing to do. And it stinks of a relegation side as well. You know, I'm not going to be too negative, guys, tonight, but it does stink of a relegation side when you see things like that, and it really just winds you up as a fan. But I mean, looking at the Liverpool game in its isolation, Dan, I mean, what changes would you make to that side? And anybody watching along, let us know in the comments below. What changes would you make to that side?
Put 10 in defence and just hope for the best.
We've only got 10 good defenders, though, mate. That's
very true. Honestly, it's hard to say, isn't it? Because, you know, Eddie Howe, he's trying new things, which is fair enough. It's a different way of playing to how we've played in the past and how we've played recently under Steve Bruce, but even then, we're still susceptible because the players, especially in defence, just aren't up to it at the minute. Which is weird to say, because I've said this many times before, that these players were fantastic in defence under the previous manager before Steve Bruce, and how good they were. But because of how much they've regressed over the past 2 years, at this moment in time, no matter, we're only a month into Eddie Howe's tenure, he's not going to get people that to be defending well that quickly. It takes time to get it back into them again. We have a comment here as well.
We've got a comment there. Stu's jumped in. Good to see you, Stu. Thanks for listening, mate. So he'd stick to a back four, but he'd play Almiron and Joe Litton to help our fullbacks. That's a great shout, Stu. I think we were going to get on to the question of how
I like Almiron. I've always
Maximum.
Just his pace. I love Almiron's pace and just his willingness to constantly run. Sometimes his end product can be a little bit perhaps not what you want, but unlike the Maximan, as much as he's good really on the ball and does like magic, he is a bit lazy, isn't he? At least with Almiron, he will never give up, and he will never ever stop running, and does his defensive duty as well.
But I was looking at the stats the other day, and I think out of all the games they've played, I think St Maximin's played 16 games, and Almiron's played 14, and 10 as a starter. And I think Almiron's put in 27 tackles this season, and St Maximin's put in 5. So that tells you there. That tells you that, Almiron is in there to graft. He's in there to work hard. So Maximin, yes, he's an unbelievable player. He's our best footballer by a country mile. But when you're watching against Leicester and he's trying to take on 5 or 6 players who are high pressing side, who are a good side, he's losing the ball in key areas. He's putting us under way too much pressure, in my opinion, mate. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd drop St Maximin. I know it's a mad thing to say, especially in this game against Liverpool. As you rightly said, mate, it's damage control. So, for me, I'd go... maybe similar to Stu, I'd go Joe Litton and Almiron, or possibly even bring Fraser in, and then play Joe Litton as well, almost like a 5-man midfield. Another thing I'd probably do, and let us know in the comments, guys, if you agree or disagree. I would drop Joe Willock. I think Joe Willock's been absolutely stinking this season.
He's been terrible. Yeah,
I'd probably bring in Short Longstaff, to be honest with you, mate. But what's Stu saying there?
I'd bring in Isaac Hayden, because I still think that Longstaff turns like a cruise liner.
He does, but Hayden's also very rash, isn't he? He's a yellow card away
to happen. So that is very true. That's Hayden's downfall.
It is.
But I feel, I don't know, it just shows the sort of lack of depth we have, though, doesn't it? That
mate. January cannot come soon enough. Stu's making a good point there as well. He thinks Almiron's the only one who can track Andy Robertson. I think that's a great shout as well.
He's fast, as I say, and he runs all day. He's like a little Jack Russell Terrier, Miguel Almiron, isn't he?
I think the problem with Almiron is it's the lack of end product. But in a game like this against Liverpool, weird as it sounds, end product isn't really the be-all and end-all, because we're going to have so little of the ball.
That's what the pitch, I think. It's just literally get them open, get them out quickly.
That's exactly what we need to do. That's exactly what we need to do. I mean, there's major...
all day. I'd be starting him all day. Yeah.
I agree completely, Dan. It's a funny one. It's like you say, there's not a great deal of depth in that squad. I saw some people on Twitter were saying, it's interesting this. I wonder what your opinion on this, Dan, is, and anybody listening, what their opinion is. But people are saying drop Callum Wilson because he's 1 yellow card away from being suspended. But then somebody else had said play him, because if he gets suspended and he misses the City game, then it's not the end of the world. He'd be back for the United game. So it's a funny one, because Wilson doesn't get booked a lot. He does get in the mixer a lot, and he's always, kind of having a chat with the referee. But because he's so handsome and charming and smiles his way out of it, he doesn't tend to get a lot of yellow cards, does he? Really, mate? So.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good debate, isn't it? So do you risk him playing them now? And because you want him back for when January comes and we've got more winnable games once again, and the new players are coming in as well, hopefully. So maybe it is a case of playing now, and if he gets a 1-game suspension, take it, because we're not realistically going to get much out of Liverpool, Man City. Man United probably more of a chance, because they have been susceptible to a hammering even of a smaller side this season. Although that was under Solskjaer, so perhaps Rangnick can stop that from happening. But still, I feel like out of all the squads in sort of like this set of games we have, Liverpool, Man City, Man United is the weakest, especially in defence.
I agree.
So you'd probably want Wilson to play there, and if he misses Man City, well, I couldn't see us winning that anyway. So maybe it is the right thing to do. What you'd probably not want is to not get a book against Liverpool, then get one against Man City, so then he's suspended for Man United. You probably wouldn't want that.
That's probably right, because as you rightly say, mate, I think out of all three of those, the one that I could see is getting a shit house winning is probably Manchester United as well, which would be great. Stu's back in the comments there, mate. He agrees with you. It was a mistake not to play Hayden against Maddison. I think that's a good shout, Stu, because I think Hayden would have rattled Maddison, wouldn't he? I'm not sure Maddison would have got away with, that amount of space that he got at the King Power with Isaac Hayden there. Would you agree?
You just need to stick someone on him, because if you mark someone out of the game, they can't do what they want to do. If you just say it to Isaac Hayden, just stick on him and don't give him an inch at all. It should be breathing down his neck constantly, and then he's not got the space, and he can't play the game he wants to do. But because you can make any player look really good if you give them 10 yards of space on the ball, and allow them to compose themselves and allow them to play and take the time and make decisions. But if you don't give them that time, then they make rash decisions and they rush things, and then that's when mistakes happen. And so allowing him to play like we did cost us. So good comment from Stu.
Very good comment. Very good comment, Stu. He's obviously watched that in close detail, and it's a hell of a comment, mate. Well played. So yeah, I suppose looking at the game in itself, I mean, I don't want to talk about Liverpool because we're a Newcastle United podcast, but I think Firmino is supposed to be due back in the squad, and Origi is supposed to be due back in the squad. Obviously, they've got a hell of a team. They've got Spurs, I think, on. Sorry, mate. They've got Spurs on Saturday, so they have got a game quite close after this one. So they might shuffle the pack a little bit, but I still think most of their 25 should probably not have too much trouble against us. So what would you say for a predicted score, Dan? What are you going for, mate? I know you're Mr. Positive all the time, so this might be the first time you're not. So what do you think the score is going to be, mate?
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to have to be no. I cannot see us getting anything. I will be as happy as Larry if we get a 0-0 draw, believe me, but I can't even see that happening. So as far as I'm going to say a 3-1 loss. I'm going to be optimistic in the sense we might even get on the score sheet.
Who is Larry and why is he so happy?
That's a good.
I just don't know.
Hang on. I'll give him a ring. I'll ask him.
Who is Will? And why did he put them things in it? Very strange stuff, mate. Who knows, mate? But yeah, so I suppose my point of view on the score, mate, I'm like you. I mean, I'm more negative than you anyway, mate, at the best of times. But I just think that Liverpool are light years ahead of us as a football.
No, they are.
And I don't think we'll be. I know we've got a decent draw against them like they did last season at Anfield, but I just can't see that happen unless the Joe Willock of them turns up. But I just think that we'll get comfortably beaten. I don't think we'll score, Dan, to be honest with you. I'm going to go for 3-0, I think.
It wouldn't surprise me that at all. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. I think I'm probably more concerned about the Sunday, mate, to be brutally honest with you, against Manchester City after watching them obliterate Leeds. Now, there was some only fools and horses defending going on by Leeds. I must admit, it was pretty crap. But when City are like that, my God, they could murder anybody. So, I mean, these fixtures, I think I've said it before, that they'll give Freddie Krueger nightmares. And I think if we come out of them at any points, I'll be absolutely astounded, mate, to be honest with me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, as I say, I think the only one you can sort of look and think, ooh, their defence is not perhaps as good as Man United. But even then, they've got but even then, they've got the attacking players to hurt you. That's the thing. So you're still got to be very careful. But yeah, these next three games are not looking appetizing, are they?
Not at all, mate. I think our wafer thin squad will be tested to its limits, mate. I would say, to be honest with you. So it's not going to be for the faint of heart, I think, for Newcastle fans. So you're gonna have to be made of tough stuff these next few weeks. But I think what we're all waiting for is we're all waiting to get to January. And on that subject, we're going to move on from the Liverpool game just to talk a little bit about Toon transfer talk. And obviously, there's been some mental names linked with us as a club, since the takeover has happened and since the talk about the levels of money that's available. Do you think Kylian
Mbappe likes Bridges?
I still love his face when Griezmann told him he signed him on as a football manager for Newcastle, and he was like, "It's not very warm there." I think he said, didn't he? To be honest with you, mate. So. He's not wrong. Right. He's not wrong. It's quite mild today, though, Kylian. It's not too bad today.
It hasn't been too cold this week, actually. To be fair, but.
For mid-December, it's quite warm actually, mate. It might be all right.
It's not bad. Kylian, get yourself here. Why not?
Get yourself away, mate. You can get yourself a Greg's, mate. That's you must know about Greg's over in France. Come on, it's a delicacy. But yeah, so going at the Toon transfer talk, I think the biggest name that's been linked at the moment is Kieran Trippier. It seems to be being reported in a lot of news outlets. So it obviously starts with a little bit of Twitter tales, and then it picks up again, and then some serious journalists start talking about it. And I think there's a lot of serious journalists talking about it now. Kieran Trippier to Newcastle United. I think it's a fantastic move if it happens. Some fans are a little bit torn on it, mate, which I don't really understand why. What's your opinion on Trippier to the Toon?
I can't understand why you'd be torn on it, because look at what we've got right now.
I know.
And you'd be turning that down. This is a man who played in the European Championship final just a few months ago and delivered and assisted. Was it Luke Shaw's goal?
He did, didn't he? Actually, was one full back to the. Yes, you're right, mate. Yeah, you're right. He whipped it over the side, didn't he? But
exactly.
I mean, I think signing him as well, possibly. Tell us in the comments below if you disagree. But I think it would actually give us a player that can take a set piece for the first time since probably Johan Cabaye and Ryan Taylor. To be honest with you.
I mean, there's always been an argument that Shelby can take one, and to be fair, he can on occasion, but he's not consistent enough with them, is he?
No, I mean, when was the last time Shelby actually hit a decent free kick, though? You remember?
Not against Brighton.
God, that was awful. Yeah, I nearly forgot about that until you just raised that again, mate. My God, that was dreadful. I can just see it replaying in my mind now. It's making my blood boil as I'm replaying it in my head.
Keeper. Oh.
Why didn't he test the keeper? Bloody hell! But yeah, I mean, on a serious note, Trippier obviously defensively, he's no Paolo Maldini, but he's steady enough.
He's versatile as well. He's very versatile. Can play full back and has played centre back for England as well, if memory serves. And from an attacking sense, likes to get forward if he is playing full back too. So, as I say, he's much better than whatever we've got right now. So I don't understand why anyone is turning their noses up. If he comes to Newcastle, I'll be overjoyed. He's leaving Atletico Madrid to come here.
Exactly. I mean, he's 31 now, so he's kind of coming towards the end of his or the kind of last furlong of his career, so to speak. But he's a cracker.
Like 2 or 3 years out of him.
Exactly. He's an absolutely cracking player. So we've got another comment there from Stu. He said he's only got 6 months on his contract, so I can't imagine that they can command over 20 million from him. That's a good shout, Stu. I mean, that's a hell of a deal if we can get him for 20 million quid. Bloody hell, that's a great buy, isn't it?
Yeah, really? I've been reading sort of 20, 30 million roughly around that sort of.
I heard 30, yeah, and I heard we're going to double his wages. I heard he's on 75 grand a week or something, and we'll
it's nice having money, isn't it?
It's lovely to have money, isn't it, mate? It's great to have money. So for a change, anyway. But Ashley probably would have halved his wages and thrown in a Sports Direct mug to try and sign them, I imagine, mate. But I'm not sure I would have had the same gravitas.
Bit of Lonsdale in there as well.
Yeah, sure. A couple of boxing gloves and some trainers for you, Kieran. Come on, you know where to sign. But yes, I think he'd be a great buy, and it's obviously a big statement by the club. But I suppose the question you've got to ask yourself, mate, is there areas that need to be addressed quicker than him? Because apparently he's the number one choice. I'm very worried about the centre halves. I mean, we've obviously talked. There's links about Tarkowski and I mean Ben Mee as well. Ben Mee's a decent centre half, but I think Tarkowski would definitely improve what we've got. I'm not sure Ben Mee would. I don't know if Ben Mee's a great deal better than Lascelles.
Obviously Tarkowski has played for England and has England caps. That's the difference between him and Ben Mee. I think same with someone like Connor Cody as well. They have England caps. I know they're not world beaters, but they're better than what we've got. That's the difference. As I say, it's because of the position we're in right now. We're not going to be able to attract mega names just yet, but we need to just be getting people who are a bit better, than what we've got currently. And this is the type of player who would. I mean, Kieran Trippier is probably he's light years ahead of some of the players we've got currently. But yeah, Tarkowski, someone like that, or Cody, as I say, these are players who Premier League proven Premier League ability. They know what the league's like, and as I say, England internationals can come in and hit the ground running, hopefully as well.
Absolutely, I think it's an interesting one because there's a lot of players being linked. Obviously, I think the likes of Lingard, even Dele Alli as well. And just looking, there's another comment there from Stu. He said, "Do you think it's realistic for us to sign good players on loan to buy if we stay up. But actually, I do think it is, Stu. That was the
I
point
think
I was
loan
just going to
deals.
get onto.
I think we'll do a fair few loan deals in this January window. I think that's
Yeah,
you're not going to get brilliant deals in terms of signing on straight away unless you give a lot of money at this window.
I think the players as well will be worried potentially about relegations. Obviously, they'll back themselves to put the performances in. But I think, say, somebody like Dele Alli is an interesting one. I know Dele Alli's really fell from grace, but if you were to get Dele Alli on loan till the end of the season with an option to buy if he performs, and then all of a sudden, up pops the Dele Alli that we all know and love in a Newcastle shirt, being adored by 52,000 mags. Jesus Christ, that's a hell of a player to have on your books. And obviously Jesse Lingard's different. He's out of contract. I think if we get Lingard, it'll be a permanent deal as opposed to a loan deal. But yeah, there's other players out there that probably need a chance. Ross Barkley's another one. He could potentially look at a loan deal.
Yeah, there's a lot of these these England players who were doing quite well, sort of maybe like 2 to 3 years ago, then have fallen a little bit. And even though they're perhaps not hitting the heights they once were, they've still got that ability in them somewhere. And if somehow we can get that out of them again, then brilliant.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes just a freshness does you good. I mean, I remember Jesse Lingard's a great example. Mark will tell you, my friend on Sled Road past that. I used to say Jesse Lingard was so overrated. I couldn't see what everybody saw in him. I said he just dances on bloody Instagram. He's this, he's that. And when he went to West Ham, I was blown away. I couldn't remember how good of a player he was. Exactly. I couldn't remember how good of a player he was until I watched him at West Ham. And I thought, Christ, he's a hell of a player. Like, I didn't even remember how good he was.
And then he's not been given his chance this season again.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's out of the loop again, So it's a bad decision probably for him to go back to United. I definitely think he's on the move, and I think he'd be brilliant to come to us. I know there was the Instagram picture when his team was supposed to be at the ground at Spurs, and that's a great atmosphere. There was that day at Spurs. I mean, obviously when we ended up losing, it wasn't great, but Jesse Lingard would have got a sample there of obviously how good that we could be, really, mate. So yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. So what's Stu saying here? I would ask Chelsea about Pulisic. Wow, I tell you what, mate, that's a hell of a show. He's a Captain America himself, mate. I'd love to have him in a black and white shirt. What do you think, Dan?
Would Chelsea let him go? I know he doesn't start all the time, but he still makes a fair few appearances for them, whether it's off the bench. I know, as I say, second fiddle to say Kai Havertz now, but I can't see Chelsea letting him go personally.
Yeah, I think he's too valuable to them. They've got a lot of football still to play, but I mean, potentially he's an option for moving forward. There's still a lot of good players out there. I mean, Aaron Ramsey, I know who's a big fan of the Slide Rule Pass, a good friend of ours. He might be on one of these episodes in months to come, or weeks to come. But Aaron Ramsey's up for grabs. Experienced Premier League player, goal scorer, midfielder, very, very good shout. Even people like Eden Hazard, I know it's a crazy thing to say, but Eden Hazard on loan till the end of the season, why not? Gareth Bale went to Spurs on loan. Why couldn't Eden Hazard come here on loan if we paid his wages? You just never know. So,
yeah, Eden Hazard's not hit the height at Real Madrid, has he, at all? He's just, I think, I hate to say, but he has put on weight there as well. And he just doesn't look the player he once was. And whether that's just the way the Spanish league is a bit more relaxed, who knows? But even there, as I say, he's not hit the heights at all. So, could we tempt? I don't know. It's a hard one because, of course, sort of the success he's had in the Premier League previously with Chelsea, and then he'd be coming to a side of a second bottom. But I suppose money talks, doesn't it? If you give him enough.
It does, and unfortunately, that's the name of the game. If we still stay within 3 points of getting out of the mire, and people like Lingard and people like Trippier and people like Dele Alli and all these guys, they'll look at that and think, do you know what? I'd back that squad if I get in that team to win another 1 or 2 games. I'll back that, and then why not? They would back the chances to go, and I think that's a good shout by Stu in the comments as well. I'd love Kieran. Kieran, is it Tierney? What's his first name? Is it Kieran Tierney? It is Kieran Tierney. Yeah. I'm getting mixed up with Trippier there. I should know this. My dad's a Celtic fan, Stu. I should know this. I'll get disowned by my old man. But I think he's an awesome player, and we need a good left back, and I think he's a phenomenal left back. He's probably one of the best in the league outside of Andy Robertson, I think.
Yeah, but again, like this January thing, obviously, Arsenal wouldn't loan him because he starts for Arsenal a lot of the time.
That's it.
Summer, you maybe could put a bid in, but even then, I think it because of his youthful age, it's going to be sort of that 40 million, 50 million mark, you'd think, wouldn't you? That's
You'd
what I
think so.
guess.
Yeah, it'd be big money, I think. It'd be big money. But it's interesting because if you look at the teams around us as well, I mean, obviously Leeds are starting to wobble. Southampton are wobbling a bit as well. Players like Ward-Prowse and guys like that, and maybe even Basuma at Brighton, these kind of players. If you throw enough money at them to turn their heads, and they think, you know what, I can get Newcastle out of that. If I go there, I'll stick a relegation clause in my contract, and if they go down, I'll go.
Yeah, I think if sort of like one or two go, then we'll entice others too, because you think, well, if they're going to take on that sort of risk and burden, I can't. Like, it just takes the first one or two to take on the challenge. Before that, obviously, you got to place where you're thinking, "Oh, do I want to? Do I really want to?" But once we say like one or two big names going, you think, "Oh, right, okay." If they're going to go, then I don't feel as bad or as worried about going. Just got to get those first. Like, if Kieran Trippier comes, I think hopefully that could set the ball rolling.
That could be a big one. England international, good player, top player. You're right, mate. It's almost like when Man City had that Robinho move, wasn't it? That opened the door, didn't it? People thought, wow, Robinho's gone to Man City. If we can get a player of that magnitude, I mean, I think of players like Coutinho at Barcelona. That would be a hell of a signing on loan for us. Even on loan till the end of the season would be unbelievable. But I'm not sure Barcelona will let him go, especially after the sad news of losing Aguero to retirement today, which was a real shame. They're going to need all the goal powers they can get because they're not doing great in La Liga at the moment. So I'm not sure they'll let Coutinho go. But if it's a money thing and they can't afford his wages, maybe they will, because they're in the mire, aren't they?
That's the thing. Barcelona is a club that's in the deep financial difficulty at the minute. So maybe they would accept some money. Who knows?
The possible, but that's a lovely segue, Dan, into financial difficulty, into the financial conversation. Look at that, nice and effortless. Effortless on the Evermore podcast here, as if we planned it. So yeah, obviously there's been news about the Premier League voting through the deal to allow teams to have their own kind of commercial partnerships. I think it was restricted, it was banned, wasn't it? And you weren't allowed to obviously do a few deals with certain different places. Like obviously the Saudis is a prime example for us, but now it's been voted as obviously being able to do it. What does this do for Newcastle United, mate? And what does it do for the potential growth for the revenue?
Well, it's a good thing, I think, isn't it? Because it allows Newcastle to be sponsored by Saudi companies, whose revenue will, of course, drive up the money that we've got to spend in the transfer window. Of course, these are big companies. I look at, say, Aramco, if that's how you pronounce it, who sponsor Formula One. They're an oil company. They're on everything. You see Aramco all the time now. So that's it's as I say, it's like Etihad at Manchester City. It's like Emirates at Arsenal. Oh, hi, Mark. We miss
Mark's
you.
in the house. There he is. How you doing, Mark? That's our good friend Mark, who's recovering from COVID. Give him some love, guys, in the comments below. He's been soldiering on through. God bless him. It's not a nice thing, this COVID virus. So we wish you well, Mark, and we'll have you back behind the mic soon enough. But yeah, you're right, Dan. I think that the amount of money that's available, for those corporate deals. I mean, we all know Mike Ashley took the living piss with the club. I mean, I think he paid £3.50 a packet of fags for Sports Direct to be plastered all over it.
The Sports Direct arena, let's not forget that.
Oh, God. I don't think we could ever forget that. I mean, I think that was just one of the most unforgivable things that he ever did, to be honest with you. But, like you say, the amount of business contacts, never mind just the companies that the Saudis own. I mean, I think they've got shares in Disney. You never know. We might have Disney on the shirt, mate. It'd be like a Magic Kingdom, St James's Park. You just never know. But I mean, the amount of business partners they've got around the world, and obviously Amanda Staveley as well, and Mahuda husband, they can pull all those relationships into the club now because there's no boundaries anymore, is there? So it's got to be good for us, mate.
Yeah, it's got to be good financially. Of course, obviously it allows other clubs as well, but the fact that we've got these people in now who have more connections and say, I should imagine other clubs and their owners do it financially. I mean, obviously we already knew we had a lot to spend anyway, but this is just going to help us generate even more revenue and more marketing within the. That's the thing, because of course it's the marketing side of things as well, and sort of those interlinks and the connections between brands and Newcastle United, and so it has to be a good thing, and grows the reputation, the name of Newcastle, becomes sort of a worldwide brand, hopefully as well.
It's interesting because years ago when I was younger, I went to Florida with a wife before the kids came. Funny enough, I went to Disneyland when I didn't have kids. How mean am I? And I remember we were in the Epcot.
I love Epcot. Epcot's great.
Of course, but we were there, and I remember going in the shop, and my wife couldn't get away from it. There was Newcastle shirts in the shop, and that was when obviously we were owned by, I think, Shepherd and Hall were running, or Shepherd and Douglas Hall were running the show then, and there was Newcastle shirts all over. When we told people were from Newcastle, they knew exactly where it was, and Newcastle was a global brand then, and I think certainly under the 14 years of Mike Ashley's ownership, it's really slid back, back. And the likes of Spurs and Everton have leapfrogged us, as we all know, to probably be bigger clubs globally. So, these votes can only be a good thing. And I think it also shows that all this huffing and puffing about, we're going to kick you out, we're not going to sell you players and all that, it might just be absolute bullshit, to be honest with you, So maybe when it gets to the January window, we don't have to be as concerned. So Mark's asking a good question there. Do you worry that the PL will still cause problems by holding up deals, making sure they are fair value? That's an interesting question, Mark. I mean, I think the Premier League is such a unpredictable force, isn't it, Dan? We had no idea they were going to do what they did in the first place to take over. We have no idea they were going to wave it through as quick as they did. So, I mean, what do you think, mate, just on Mark's question there? Do you think that
they're an interesting sort of organisation to deal with? Obviously, we've had 18 months of takeover, not knowing what's going to happen with it, then suddenly it happens, as I say, as you rightly say. I feel as though the relationship probably is a bit better now with us and them, because of course it's happened, it's finally done, and all that's been waved through, all the issues were dealt with and were passed. So you'd like to think that the sort of relation, as I say, between the two is better, but who knows with that lot? I mean, I don't want to criticise too much because no one knows actually what goes on behind the scenes. I don't certainly know what goes on, but I'm not inclined to worry too much. Is my answer to that.
I still think that the relationship between them and the Greedy Six is still a little bit fractured after the ESL, and I don't think potentially there's as much goodwill there as there once was. Hence the takeover being waved through as quick as it did. And I think one thing's for certain with this collection of individuals, that's me being very tame for a change, mate, rather than swearing. These collection of individuals, they care about money, and cash is king. And the Saudis have a lot of cash. And if they can bring a lot of commercial revenue partners, big partners that can push the Premier League globally, as well as their club is obviously in the Premier League, I think the Premier League will wave them through, because they've obviously took a massive hit from COVID. We've talked about it as well, potentially, that, they obviously the game's getting called off now with the Omicron virus strain. They might lose even more revenue, so they're not going to turn their back on big value, are they?
As we've said on this tonight already, money talks, and when they're losing money from other places, such as games being called off, and I wouldn't, Chris, I'd probably just a bot.
I don't know what it was. I thought it was a Saudi company or something that they were mentioning to me in terms of the commercial deals. So I just whacked it up. So yes, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what the hell that even meant. So,
but yeah, I mean, with sort of revenue being lost for various reasons, they're not going to say no to revenue coming in to sort of balance their books, are they? That's my opinion.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely not. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. And like you say as well, the January window as well, if it opens up more revenue streams, and to invest in the academy and things as well, and the foundation for the club. So it can only be a good thing, really. But I suppose going back to the main kind of bread and butter, Dan, of what it all means, none of this matters really if we go down. So relegation fears this season, obviously, we spoke about it earlier on in the week, looking at the other fixtures. I know Watford and Burnley were called off this evening for COVID, as we mentioned there before. So that's Burnley now got 2 games in hand on us. Now,
null and void the season. That's it. It's all done now. Null and void it. We don't need to play any more games.
Any more games? No, because if they turn it off now, we might just get relegated because we're in the bottom 3 anyway, mate. So you never know.
No,
so
null and void it. No promotions, no league winners, nothing. Just
do a restart. But yeah. So going back to that, I mean, obviously we are still just 3 points, close to getting out of it. Obviously, our next 3 games are horrific, and I just don't think we could have much of a chance of getting anything out of them, except potentially a shithouse win against Manchester United. But after that, we've got Everton and Southampton, I think. So, I mean, what do you think, mate? Do you think that come January, if we're 3 points and we can get these players in, whether it's on loan with relegation clauses or whatever, do you think we'll get out?
It's going to be tough. I don't think there's any doubts about that at all now. I'm going to echo what John Gibson said last night, and I'm going to echo what Keith Downey's just said to me. now John Gibson says, keep the faith. No team has ever done this before, but keep the faith.
True.
But Keith Downey, he echoed a bit more caution, saying that, look, no team has ever done this before, and it is going to be very tough. And we have played a lot of these sort of more winnable games against sides around us already at home. Leeds, Southampton, Burnley, Norwich. I'd have only picked up one win from them all. So there are still tough games to come. And even when we play in these teams again, they're going to be away from home. But we did have a good end to the season last season. Can we do it again this season? We'd like to think so. But I'm gonna say with Gibbo and say keep the faith. Why can't we be the first team to ever get out of this position?
Well, I mean, I think if we're going to get out of it, we need to get out of it pretty much now, because the gap is still there and the gap's achievable. You can win a game. You can win a game in the Premier League even if you're totally off form, and you can beat a big team one week. It just happens that way. You can never predict it. We proved it under Bruce. Where we were dreadful and we still won games which we couldn't believe we won. So at the minute we can get out of it by winning a game or two. But if that gap starts to widen, obviously the next 3 games, potentially we're not going to have any points. Now, obviously Burnley have had their game called off. If there's any more games called off, then we might be lucky and get to January with the gap still there. Get some new recruits in, and then obviously by the time they have their games in hand, we might be able to pick up some points as well. So I think, if we are going to get out of it, we need to get out of there quick. This isn't a bot, mate. This is our good friend Stu, who's been awesome on the comments tonight. So he's saying, at first I thought the rest of the Premier League were picking on Newcastle, but if our takeover brings about better financial football regulation, then that's not bad for a weak club in the Northeast. Well said, Stu. I hope Fergie's reading that, mate.
So do I.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I think, like you say, you got to break records to get out of this, Stan. And, when you watch a performance like that on Sunday, your heart does start to sink a bit, and you do start to think, are these guys up for this? By the time we get to January, will we be too far adrift?
I don't think it's that they're not up for it. Because I think there is still effort being put in. I think they do run around a lot and they do try and give it their all, but I just think the quality is starting to lack, or the lack of quality is starting to show now.
That's a good point as well by Stu. We have put a lot of noses out of joint. I think a lot of those clubs are absolutely thrilled to see us down that bottom 3, and they want to keep us there, because the likes of Liverpool and and Manchester United and City and Chelsea, they don't want us to stay in the league, because if we do stay in the league and we have a summer with big spend and bring in some proper players, then we could take their targets away from them by paying them more money. So that's why they don't want it, isn't it?
These the big 6 of them, they're absolutely petrified as far as I'm concerned.
Of course they are. It's a huge,
absolutely.
Our owners
we can be. Yeah, as I say, because they know we've got the money now, and obviously, if we do go down, it's a 1 or 2 year setback on the overall plan probably. But Amanda Staveley has set out her ambitions that she wants to win things with Newcastle. So we'll get there eventually. Obviously, it's going to take time. I don't think anyone's under any illusions as to how long it might take. And if we go down, it'll take even a couple of years longer. But I do think that, 10 years' time, 15 years' time, we will be up there mixing it with the very best of them.
I agree with you, mate. I think if we go down as well, I mean, I know I've said this before when we've gone down under Ashley and we came straight back up. And I've never thought we would come straight back up. But I think if we were to go down under this ownership, I think we would come straight back up and would come up a lot stronger as well. I think we'd be able to buy the best in the Championship. And then I think, unlike what we did under Ashley, where we had probably the best players in the Championship, when we got to the Premiership, we should have upgraded, but we didn't upgrade. We just stayed as we were. And then you look at it now, we're still pretty much full of a Championship squad of players.
And that's same not players who still play for us, who played for us then. That's, yeah.
100%. And if we go down, Dan, a lot of those guys will probably still play for us, because no other Premiership teams will really fancy them. With the exception of obviously Wilson and St Maximin and guys like that, and Dubravka possibly. The rest of them really would just be in the Championship with us.
Here's a question: do you think now there's a takeover? If we did go down, would Wilson, St Maximin, and that? Or do you think they would stay because they know that we probably are going to come straight back up and still push on further?
I don't think that St Maximin would stay. I just don't think he'd have it in him. I think he would. He's done enough to get a move possibly abroad, or possibly to an Everton or West Ham or something like that. So he'd probably take his chances in the Premier League. But I certainly don't think those fans would adore him as much as we do. I don't think he'd ever get that. And he wouldn't get as many fans cutting him a slack for being, very, very hot and cold like we do. But I think, I'm not sure he would. I think Wilson would be 50-50, because if they said to Callum Wilson, you're the captain, have a season in the Championship with us, come back up, you'll be the main focal point of a new look team, everything else. But I think the problem with Wilson would be is if someone like Harry Kane sold. If I'm Spurs, I'm putting a bid in for Callum Wilson, because he's a great replacement for Harry Kane. So that's
the only thing about Callum Wilson is perhaps he is a bit older now. He is is he 29 now?
He's 29 now, so the next season when
No, I know that players can play until they're 36, 37 and still play very well, even in their early 30s. But maybe Callum Wilson at a bit of an older age would prefer maybe a season just down in the Championship, just to sort of score a lot of goals and keep his fitness up and playing a lot of games as well and keep his confidence high as well. As opposed to
absolutely, mate. No, I think he's a fantastic player. I mean, I think he's probably one of the best strikers we've had since Demba Ba. Alan Shearer, the way he leads the line, how dependable he is. I'd love to see how many goals he could get, with service and with some quality behind him. And hopefully come January, we'll get to see that, when we invest in the squad. But I think, it's definitely going to have to take a real mammoth performance from Eddie Howe and the players to keep us in this league. And we're not going to stay in this league over the next 3 games unless we get that miraculous win against Manchester United at home, which we've targeted. Against City and Liverpool next, it is going to be damage control. And I really hope that Eddie Howe isn't as tactically naive as he was against Leicester. I hope he's learned a lesson there. Because if we do go to that game with the same set of players as we did against Leicester, I really fear for a serious battering, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. It doesn't bode well, does it?
It doesn't. But we'll end on a positive, mate. This has been a great first episode for the Evermore podcast, exclusively on the Slide Rule Pass channel. Thank you, everybody who's watching. Thank you for the engagement as well. It's been fantastic. We'll be back next week after the City game. Hopefully, we'll be a bit more positive after the two games. Maybe not, Dan. We might be a bit more pessimistic.
I should imagine we're going to be pessimistic, but I'd like my optimism will kick in, and we'll have a Man City 5-0.
It will, mate. It will be fantastic. But so thank you very much for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time on the Evermore podcast, exclusively on the Slide Rule Pass. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Cheers, lads. Bye bye.